Okay, we're recording. Okay, so we're going to do take two. Great. So sounds better. Okay, fantastic. So this is the new future, huh? Like technical issues and being together online and having to sort them out. Okay, so enough from me. Does somebody here want to speak about how they work online? Like Jo, I know you do it. Did you want to share a little bit?
So today I actually worked on someone's dog, but I used someone else as the surrogate.
Yep.
So I think going forward, I would do more of that because I'm much more comfortable using a body than self-testing.
Yep.
But I have done, because I do counseling as well. So I am used to like talking more, and as they're talking, I would do the self-testing. I've also done that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But back to what you were saying before about like who to see and who not to see. I suppose like with the clinic that I work for, we have very strict rules. So as soon as the person comes in, we do have a questionnaire. We had to turn someone away because their spouse just came back from a country that had high infection.
Yep.
So they came through the door and we had to say, you have to go.
Yep.
So that does happen as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just need to be a lot more savvy and practice using the internet. Make sure you have a good connection. Make sure there's a lot of noise around you, and it's a space that you can't do it in a cafe. It has to be a private, quiet space. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really important. Like one of the things I think is very important with working online is creating that safe space, exact same safe space as you would if you had a client come to you in the clinic. And so, that means that you need to communicate with them in advance what that means. So how would they actually, they need to know that on their end, they need to have a space that's private, where they're not going to have people walking in and out. In where they are in their home, as well as us as the practitioner, we have to obviously we make sure that happens for us. But when we've got them in, when they're seeing us from their own space, how are we monitoring that? And so getting that expectation set up right from the start, and also having that audio visual component so we can see them is very important as well. And not just doing it over the phone or anything. Like you may still have that element of working with them, but you still want to be able to see their face to a point, and have them understand that where you're working is also, they need to know, they need to be able to see us as the practitioner in a space where people aren't walking around behind us. So that sacred space still needs to be very much intentional and communicated to the client, because they may not be able to see it just by looking at you, and vice versa. Did you have anything else to share, Joy?
I totally agree with what you said. Like, even though they're in their house or wherever they are, and you are in your house, it definitely has to have that intention that it's just like when we're in the clinic. The way we talk about things, it's confidential.
Yeah.
Someone actually tried to ask me to see if I would see them in, let's say, an outdoor space, but I just think that doesn't set the right tone.
No. No, you would never see a client in an outdoor space, balance them. So it's exactly the same. So yeah, it's very important that those sorts of expectations are set up and are clear. And using Zoom's actually really important, because Zoom's encrypted. And if you use FaceTime through Facebook, it's not confidential, it's not private. So you have to remember that. It's not a good option. WhatsApp is encrypted, and FaceTime is okay, and Zoom's okay, but Zoom is the best by far. But I would use WhatsApp as a last resort, like if you have an issue with Zoom. I've only ever used FaceTime once or twice, because there's just been no other option. Like everything else was just not working, but it's just definitely not a good way to go.
I would agree. Zoom has the best connection for me.
Yeah. Sorry, when I say am I saying Facebook Messenger? Am I being clear? That's what I meant to say. Facebook Messenger is the one that you don't use. Yeah, Zoom's the best. by far. And if you've got a normal Zoom account, the free one, you can have a one-on-one session with someone for an unlimited amount of time. You don't actually have to have the professional account. It's only if you've got a meeting with more than one person, or with more than 2 people in it, that you need the professional account. So if you're just doing one-on-ones.
Wasn't there a limit of 40 minutes or something? Was that?
No, not with just one person, not with just 2 people. So say if you and I are working together, Sally, and we both have, and I just have a regular Zoom account, a free Zoom account, we can be online. I'm pretty sure it's an unlimited amount of time. I've never had an issue.
Your session an hour. Yeah, you've been doing over an hour with a client on Zoom.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to know. I thought it was 40 minutes.
No, it is if there's 3 people. As soon as you bring another person in, then it is 40 minutes. Yeah. Jo Wooler, did you have some stuff you wanted to share? I know you're working a lot online.
Yeah, since I finished my diploma in 2016, I realised I travel a lot and I needed to work out a way that I could be mobile. And I have been very mobile in my practice for the last 4 years. So I have a clinic that I can pack into 2 suitcases because I'm not working off an iPad yet, but I'm planning on doing that. And so whenever I'm working with a client, I have my clinic set up wherever I happen to be, whatever that looks like, you know.
Yep.
It's in a quiet space, of course.
Yep.
And I've done whatever I need to do to sanctify that space, to allow that there's clear energy and my intentions, you know, that I'm working with this client by distance. So I was fortunate that that started pretty early for me, and now 90% of my clients are distance and they're very comfortable with it and they've had really good results.
Yep.
I actually work on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see my clients. So it's one of those things though, you know, everybody's different.
Yeah,
in
for
regards
sure.
to you know, and what clients come to you are different to what clients go to another kinesiologist.
Yeah.
So for myself personally, it's worked very well for me. I've always worked over the phone.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I have, you know, a way of briefing my clients prior, and then I collect the information the same way we do with the client form, and we take that discussion, and, you know, there's an understanding that there's a certain time allocated for that, which is either a new session. I've got clients that I've never met, a lot of clients that I've never met. And the nice thing I'm finding too is that people are a lot more open to that. I think the thing that's holding us back from that is stepping into that confidence of the practice of that, you know. And I was like that when I first started my clinic, when I first finished my diploma. And I think, you know, like from the beginning, I always put it out there that I'll do distance sessions. And it was a client that had seen me once and then moved away, and she asked me for a distance session. So I had to then work out exactly how I was going to go about that, and I have always continuously tweaked it. You know, I mean, you one set recipe. I think the foundation of it is to understand what works for you in regards to, do you do a client by by face, or how does that work for you?
Yeah.
And you need to be very clear about that. You know, and it's good that we're having this discussion because people can explore different ways that people do it.
Yeah.
There's no right or wrong way. And whatever starts to work for you. Don't be afraid as well. What I found was to embrace that, you know, like make it available to people. And then when you're ready to actually give that to people, they will come. Trust me.
Yeah.
That's what happened with me. And, you know, and slowly, because I traveled a lot, I've got a clinic in Redcliffe, I've got a clinic in Cairns. Some people will only see me by face. Some people would like to have the first session face to face. But then I've found when I am unavailable, I'm always saying I am always available if you're open to a distance session, you know. And I always get my clients to give feedback on their experience, because as we know, in this kind of work, the proof is in the outcome, in the results. You can't deny that. It doesn't matter what anybody says about what we're doing. At the end of the day, if somebody's got something to say about the amazing experience or result that they had, that's all other people need to try it. So this is all about confidence building. It's possible in whatever way that looks for you. In regards to me, it's talking on the phone. And then, you know, after we've finished that part of the consultation, I actually, of course, I ask for their permission to work on them. That's very important. we do a bit of a meditation together before we hang up. And then I do the second part of the session. I've found it's much more powerful if I do that.
Yeah.
And then I can text them when I'm finished, and I encourage them to put their phone on airplane mode, because they're at home. If they can chill out at the end of the session and not have to get up, that's the beautiful thing about it. It's not like a clinic where you have to say, you know, allow half an hour in between sessions and then, oh, actually, you know, it's getting close to my next client. Touch them on the head, ground them, you know, how are you feeling, and try and get them up and then allocate. So I'm actually finding that it works. Distance works better for me and for the client, because they might take another hour, you know, or two. And then I get a text back and they'll go, wow, Joe, I just woke up. And this and this and this and this, and give me all the feedback from what they experienced. And then I email them a very detailed feedback for them to refer on. And I actually find that that's more powerful than a clinic, because you talk to them, yes, you write down your recommendations, but I actually write everything down in that email feedback. And not always people will be able to understand it all. But what I've found is that the information that I make available to them is then up to them how far they want to explore that. You know, there's words in that they may not understand, and I invite them always to come back with questions about that, because I think the depth that you can give them with the review or the follow-up or the feedback from the session is what's ongoing in their processing, you know. And some people are more ready to embrace that and explore the depths of that information than others. And you can see that when they come back and have another session with you. You know, you can see what homework they've been doing, because, you know, what shifts have occurred. So it's all, for me, it's all about getting the information, as much information as I can, in the feedback that I send them. And I find that because I'm not visually engaged with them, I really, really seem to go so much deeper into, you know, their energy, and with their permission, surrogating with my body. I use my body. Of course, I have very strict preparation for that, so that I'm 100% clear, in the clear. And I check, you know, I have their permission, and then afterwards giving them back their energy, checking on my energy, going out and grounding and doing the cross crawling and the brain switching in between every client, because I just find that that's the integrity in our work.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you, Jo. Anybody else would like to share how they're working on via distance? Megan, are you working online at the moment? No.
I've got so many questions though already. So
yeah. Okay. Well, quickly, is there anyone else who'd like to share? Just quickly. Oh, okay. What I said again. Do you mean at the beginning of the session? Is that right, Emily? Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's right. I got cut off. Yeah. Yes, I work quite differently to Jo. I don't do any notes, type up or send any clients any notes, because I'm quite engaged with them through the whole process. Fiona knows I've balanced you, Fiona. You worked with me online. Yeah, so that's just how it's evolved for me. So I guess I don't even know how I started working online. I think the same as what you said, Jo, someone just wanted a balance and they weren't there, like they couldn't get to me. And I learned how to surrogate in student clinic, because I had a friend come for a balance and I could not get a working muscle, and I was so stressed. You know what it's like when you're in student clinic. And the student clinic supervisor taught me the surrogation technique. So I learned it because it was like right then and there I had to learn how to surrogate. And so that was really a change, like a real turning point for me as a kinesiologist, actually. And I never forgot that. And so when it was time to do online balancing, it was very natural for me to use surrogation mode. You guys all know what surrogation mode is. And I just use my own wrist, my own thing. But I've got to the point now where it's it's very intuitive, and I can feel the energy. I don't do a lot of the muscle testing's becoming briefer and briefer, if that makes sense. It's the energy, I can feel the energy, and I kind of go with that more than the actual muscle. The muscle definitely is there, I definitely still use it, but it's becoming a little bit more obsolete as time goes on, as some of you'll probably find. And so I do a lot of chatting with the client at the beginning, face to face. I'm normally sitting during the balance, and I have all of my stuff around me. I'm in my clinic. They can see that I'm in my clinic. Obviously, if we have a lockdown in Australia, I'll be in my kitchen or something like that. I don't know. And I have an iPad pen and an iPad, and I'm writing notes the whole time. And I'm flicking between pages on my iPad. I personally have my mobile phone there that's on silent and whatever, it's not ringing, but I have all of my apps that I refer to, like if I'm looking things up. So I have a lot of information at my fingertips, and as I talk to them, I'm writing notes. And if it's a new client, I normally talk to them for maybe 30 minutes to get a real idea of where they're at and connect with them. And then I start the surrogation and then work with them for maybe 40, 50, maybe about 50 minutes of the actual energy work. But if I know the client that the session is shorter, we do a little less chit chat and we get into the setup a lot quicker. But as we start talking, I feel like I know, I get an intuitive feeling where it's time to start stacking in the information. I don't necessarily do it from the beginning. I just wait until the time feels right. And I always ask permission, obviously. Sometimes I can't get in straight away, and there's a reason why. Like sometimes I need something just to clear me. Sometimes they need something. They might need some more support. There may be something in the way, but whatever it is, we just clear it. I just clear it. I don't necessarily tell the client that that's what I'm doing. But I do give them guidance about the process. So I say, look, I'm just going to chat with you now, and then I'm going to do a little bit of setting up. And I say a setup is where I put all the information that we're discussing into a language or into a context that your body can understand. And so then I might say, I'm not going to talk for a bit. This might be, if I go quiet, don't worry. I'm just going to be, this is what I'm doing. And so they're happy with that. And so they just relax. So I guess I'm conscious of putting them at ease with the process as I go. And then when I get to the actual balance, by then normally there's so much information that we already have, so we don't need to talk so much anymore. And that's when I might say to them, just lie back, close your eyes, relax. I'm just going to, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to spend some time with this. So if I need to ask you anything, I will. And if you have anything you need to ask me, please feel free. But, if there's silence, then you just, just enjoy it, basically. And then towards the end, I will then do the correction and that kind of stuff. And then we'll have a little debrief together, because I really want them to connect with what's happened, with the process, with the insights, with all those sorts of things. And then I finish the session when I feel like that they have what they need to be able to end the session and have kind of, feel like they've had that shift or whatever that was that we needed to achieve. And so that's how I do it. And then at the end, that's it. I don't have any more energy around it. I send out an invoice online. I have an automatic invoicing system where they can pay me their own way, like either bank transfer or PayPal. So I generally don't take money when I'm doing online balancing. And they know that I'm available for questions if they need to email me afterwards, anything like that. I make that very clear. But once the session's over, it's really, that's the energy sort of it cuts for me. And I do my hand washing and my things that I do to, clear the space and clear me and have a bit of a breather before the next client. So for me, then the session's over. I don't necessarily revisit it unless sometimes I need to, if they're seeing me for naturopathic support, and I might need to do it then, you know, if I'm prescribing them something. But that's very different. That's a whole nother, to me, that's sort of like another energy. How do I pause, lock, stack? Like that, like a chicken. So yeah, it's very subtle. Or my knees, I can just do it with my knees as well. Do I format on myself? Yes, constantly touching my own points. And I always yawn. It's really embarrassing. So I have to tell them that I'm not tired. I'm not bored. I'm actually just yawning because it's their energy. So I'm talking to them like going, oh yes, ha ha, you know, yawning away. Do you hold correction points? Yeah, I sometimes get them to hold them, but sometimes I'm conscious of the fact that it can be overwhelming for people to hold points when they don't really, especially if they're new to kinesiology, and then they're like, oh, am I holding it in the right place? And I found that it makes no difference to the outcome of the session whether they hold the points or not. If they know me and I know them and we've been working together a little while, absolutely, yep. But if it's a new client, I tend to not worry about it too much. What's POS?
How's stress?
Oh, so you mean like all the corrections, or finding what the actual level of stress is in the body and all that kind of stuff? I'm doing that all on myself. So everything I'm doing, I'm doing on me, all of it. Yep. Yeah, I'll use sound online. I have no idea what it sounds like. I don't know, Fiona, what does it sound like when I use sound online? Does it work? I just kind of try to do it near the speakers. And if I'm... Does it? Okay. Thank you. And also with the oils, I use a lot of essential oils. Obviously they can't smell them, but I always tell them what the oils are, and I ask them if they have that oil, if they know that oil, if they have a connection to that oil, because then that brings that oil into their vibration, I guess. And I think I do a lot more counselling. I've realised I do a lot more counselling when I work online than if I do with a client there. But I'm a naturally do work in that way. I am naturally a talker and a natural, I like to do that counselling aspect. I know not everybody works that way. That's just how I do it. The pause lock. I don't know if it's right, but it's just what I do. So my pause lock, as I've become, as I've worked more and more, I don't really know if I even do pause lock anymore. I don't know. Is that bad? I just stack things in. That's all I do. I do a little bit with my jaw every now and then. It's like not even conscious for me anymore. It's very difficult for me to explain it, actually, what I do. Does anybody have any insight on how to pause lock when they're sitting down?
I think just use your knees like you would standing up. You just open and close your and just sit with your legs open.
Yep.
And do it the same is how I guess it. But as far as the whole chicken thing doesn't sort of make sense to me, because the joints are very different to your shoulders. So I'm not exactly sure that you'd hold the energy in your shoulders. Like that's weird.
Probably, maybe not. But and then I guess, you know, I'm not probably working in that structured way though anymore. Like.
Yeah, so just remember that the hips the pause lock is about moving the hips. So if we're just doing the knees, we're not actually doing the hips. So it's a little bit different, hard to do it.
So Sally, you're probably better to talk about this because you're training and you're doing all this stuff, like you're teaching this stuff, whereas that's a few years ago for me that I learned that stuff, and I don't necessarily use it so much now. So maybe you could share some insights into how that could work.
Well, that's why I'm curious about it, because I understand students graduate from using it. It's just that with any work, you know, a lot of it is built on putting the format in and then working, you know, to diffuse that. And so then we can go to the nerve that's related to whatever part we just put in, for example. So it sort of works on building on what you've already pause locked in. But I know the mechanism of pause lock is actually that those joints, as Megan was saying, the jaw or the hips. So if we're only just moving our knees in and out, we have to be wary whether we're actually activating our hips or not, if we're going to use jaws.
Well, whatever I'm doing tends to work, so I don't know. Yeah, but I understand what you're saying. I guess I'm just using the mechanism of movement really when I do it.
Well, you're also having the intention that you're stacking it.
Yeah, I very much am. Yeah,
that's and a lot of other kinesiologists don't do NK, don't necessarily do pause locking.
Yeah, I find you work a lot very energetically when you're working online. You really get into that energetic sphere a lot more. How do you pause lock, Jo?
I still do the same pause lock that we learnt, you know, like, and
sitting down or sitting down?
Sorry? Yeah, whatever I'm doing, you catch yourself laughing if you saw me. Like I laugh at
Can you show
myself.
us, please?
What I'm doing.
We'd like to see.
Yeah, absolutely. So would you be sitting like you are sitting now? And you use your brachioradialis, so you've got it on the table like Carrie has her hand? Is that what you're testing? Do you test your elbow, like your hand, like the brachioradialis, like you normally would a client? You do that, the O-ring?
This is my muscle test.
Yeah,
Lock,
okay.
Unlock, lock, unlock. And I'm constantly checking that like we do in between everything, making sure I've still got a muscle, always.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you can't do first, second or third degree stress with that, right?
Yeah, you can put it as your intention. You've got it in, like there's stress. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? So yeah, absolutely. But just not, I see what you're saying, it's not the same way we obtain that information when we're using the brachialis radialis. So I'm using a checklist. Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? You know, and I will look at that to see if that even comes into it each time, you know, checking across. Do I need to go deeper? So, yeah. But generally, like what Carrie's saying is so true, you know, and Hugo, I remember him saying it when we were learning, that, you know, eventually the intuition comes, you know, and you know before you even get the answer. The muscle test is just a way of, you know, clarifying or making sure, checking really. And that's what I use it for mainly, just to check. And it's habit. I like the fact that I do that because that, again, you know, it's all about confidence building. And when you're practicing this way, it's, if you keep it consistent and you constantly check yourself, whichever way that works for you, then the results and the feedback that you start getting from your clients is where your confidence starts to build, you know. But you never get to a point where you think, oh, I've got this, because you're always going to be adapting, because your clients will always change, you know, you change. So
exactly. Well, that's right. Like, and you know, like I was just thinking tonight, like if this is how I'm going to work, you know, being online all the time, say if that's the way things go for the short term or the foreseeable future, I'll probably evolve my way of working again. You know, I'll probably refine it, because I haven't, you know, my mind just kind of evolved out of, you know, like I never really sat down and went, how am I going to balance online and work it out? I never did that. It just kind of happened. So yeah, there's probably like so much refinement that could be put in place.
And it never really ends. Like, this is a good discussion, because at least it opens up the door for those who are thinking about it, you know. And don't be shy to explore it and come back to those basic principles and the basic practice that you've been taught. Apply that wherever you can, no matter how silly you look.
I know some kinesiologists actually balance the person as if they were on the table as well. That's another way that you can work. So kind of, I know Hugo said to me, because he's not going to have anyone to do a demo on the weekend for the coronavirus workshop, he's just going to do a surrogate and put some pillows on the table and balance the pillows, because then you can sort of get an idea of where all the alarm points are and all that sort of thing, and the MOPS points, and if you've got a sort of a pretend person there. So there's lots of different ways you can do it. You can use you can use a pillow. And your client might think you're a bit weird if they can see that, but they don't have to know.
Carrie,
Carrie, I actually use a teddy bear sometimes.
Do you? A teddy bear?
So
oh, cool.
I put it on the table.
Yep.
So I'm gauging where all the points are.
Yep.
And I have to say also just having that trust, going back to intuitively when you're muscle testing. I used to think, oh, am I taking over this balance? But every time I would go to do something, I already knew it. The body was already going to where I need to. And Mari always told us to just trust that.
Trust. Yeah.
I used to watch her do it, and I'm like, how, what, when? Like, she goes, it'll come. And sure enough, it has. So trust is the biggest thing.
It's so important, isn't it? And even if you don't trust, keep asking them, keep checking in, going, and keep confirming that you're on the right track. If you're not sure, the muscle will keep continuing to let you know. That's the other thing. If you're not sure, like if you think, oh, is this me? Am I hijacking this balance? Test, go, it's my stuff, You'll probably find it's not, and you actually are on track. I'm just seeing some more questions. Oh, Joy uses her knees. Chicken wing legs. Oh, I don't feel so silly now. Someone else is doing it. Oh, yeah, Helen uses her knees.
Yeah,
that's great.
Carrie.
Yeah.
I have a question. So when you're working on a client, actually the client is sitting down facing you, or they lie down on the table, or how
I just get them to be where they want to be, where they're comfortable, whether it's on the couch or on their bed or wherever is right for them.
Okay.
I just say when they book, I send an email out to them that says, if you could just find a quiet, comfortable space that's private.
Yeah, I haven't actually worked on the clients, but I worked on for my family, working on myself, and it works perfectly. But I didn't really had a chance to actually invite clients to try the distance ones. So it's very interesting for me. Can
you practice on someone first? That's what I did. I got friends to volunteer as guinea pigs, and I gave them free balance on free distance sessions, and it built my confidence. And then they were able to give me feedback. I said, look, give me feedback, tell me, because they were not kinesiologists, so they were just regular friends. And that really helped.
Right. Okay. Well, I still see clients because some are very willing to come.
Yeah.
So it depends. Some are not. So it's okay. I'm very open to it.
Yeah.
But this is for those who don't come. Maybe it can be a possibility to try, or maybe I can try and someone, invite, like a free or something.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think I charged. I just asked a couple of friends if I could practice on them, and it just helped me to find my groove and then just build my own belief in myself, because I knew how to do it. I just needed to build my own belief in it, in my ability.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Carrie. Hi, everyone. I got some clients that are overseas, and so you got the timeline difference and stuff, and I just balance them on my time here, and you still get the same amazing results. Like you don't have to be lying down or asleep or anything like that.
Yep. Beautiful.
I just generally just tell them not to have any alcohol for about 24 hours beforehand.
Yep.
They send me an email just what they want done, or what's happening in their life and whatever else, and what to look for or anything. And then I just do the balance when I just tell them. Sometimes I tell them what time I'll be doing it. Generally, I'll tell them what day, but not always the time, because I'm not always on time with that. And then I just give them a big long email, about what up and everything. This one of my clients, she's on a boat all the time, so she doesn't always have access to visual, Zoom and everything. She's hard to get. So yeah, and I've cleared UTI from here to Dubai.
Yeah, wow.
When my sister was over there. So yeah, so it works. You just got to hold the intent,
Absolutely.
Yeah. And with the stacking and pausing it, pause lock, I just open my jaw and I stack it up my forehead. So I hold it like that.
Okay.
Easier than flipping around everywhere. That's what I've done.
I'm just trying to see your can we see you? I can't see you.
I don't know. Sorry. How do I get out?
Have you got a video?
Lisa.
Because it'd be great if you could show us iPhone 8 Plus. Yeah.
No, just let me in.
That's all right.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay.
Lisa, is it what the AP people do when they touch the middle of the brow chakra area? Is it?
Yeah, there. Yeah.
Just do that.
It. Yeah, with your thumb, you flick. Yeah, you open your jaw, and then with your thumb, you flick it up over your third eye. Just exactly like that, and flick it up. Yeah, and shut your jaw. And
what does that do?
Well, that's your pause lock. That's so you hold it with your jaw, and your chest wants to go in. You put it in up there.
Fantastic. Oh, that's different. I didn't know that. That's great.
It's easier because you can just sort of you don't have to keep even if you're if you're moving around or whatever like that, even when you've got clients on the table and that, you can still put it in there rather than getting them to cross their put their legs together and all that it's just a quick thing to keep you working a bit quicker, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to be able to work quick and to find, to be able to move through the balance really fast, especially if you're feeling intuitive with what's going on. That's cool.
Definitely.
And how do you find your clients, in terms of clients, how do they feel? Do they find that whole process obscure, like not like with you working on them when they're not there or at a different time or whatever? Like, are they okay with that?
Yeah, they're okay with it. They've got no choice really.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's what they've like. They've just I suppose they're just
how you work.
Up to
balance.
And they get they're getting results. They don't have I mean, I suppose it shows that they don't have to necessarily drift right off either. And things are still changing.
I think it's just there's
really hold
all
that
we have a lot of ideas around things of how they should be, but they're just our ideas.
But do you get clients? Do you ladies get clients who say, "Well, I didn't feel anything, so I don't want to pay"?
I haven't. No, I haven't. Not yet.
It's really interesting, isn't it? But then
sometimes I think it's not always about what they feel. It's actually I find more so they get, wow, you hit the button on this and you're spot on with that. That's exactly how I'm feeling. And whatever comes through as how to clear that or whatever else is that sort of seems to me really what they want with the change. And then I get other and along with that though, there's that sense of the anxiety's gone or whatever else, they did just feel peaceful. That's what I get mostly. Like, I think they find it hard to describe other than it's peaceful because they're not there within the session. They just know they feel different. That's what they say. And that they relate to what's shown up. You know what I mean? Like,
and that email that you've written at the end, I think is really important.
It's very.
It anchors
it's a long
it all
email.
in.
Like it takes a little bit of time. Exactly. And then I just ask them to give me feedback. Like they can ask questions from that point on about it.
And that gives you a lot of freedom as a practitioner as well to work in that way. To not have to be bound by an appointment or having to engage with the person or anything like that. You can really work and do your magic in your own way.
it really tests you out in terms of, you know, it makes you realize it really is making a massive difference, because I haven't even spoken, I don't even get to speak to her, this one in particular on the boat. So yeah, I think it's like what you said, you just got to you just build your confidence up with it in the end. I originally always worked with horses and had done a lot of distance work with horses before I started doing kinesiology. So I think that helped too with my confidence with it as well.
Yeah, because you're working with animals, you know, they don't speak English. And,
no, they don't speak English, and they're not going to lie down in the paddock for you to do. So it's all about trusting that it's working, trusting that it's going through. And then, you know, and the owners would make it, you know, would say, oh, the horse is no longer doing this, or they're, you know, whatever else. So yeah,
absolutely. I had a client that was in a coma and had a stroke, and I balanced her a few times, and they would send me photographs of her or pictures of her in rehab, and she was in Bangkok actually, and so I never met her. And the balance is similar to what you were saying, Lisa. Like, I was just doing them. I would just email her family member that was organising it and just say, look, I do it around this time and blah blah blah, and then I'd send her an email afterwards. It was all this really deep brain hologram and all this cool stuff, like getting right into all the parts where the stroke had been, and it was crazy. And I think I had her scans and things like they'd sent me, and I talked to Hugo beforehand just to make sure I was on the right path with it. And it like, I wasn't doing any of it, is what I'm trying to say, you know. I was just holding the space. It just really, like you said, that experience made me go, oh yeah, okay, just get out of the way, Carrie. You know, stuff works.
Yeah,
so you
that's
think
it.
you can do it or
Yeah,
not.
you just get out of the way. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, it's just trusting that it's working.
Yep. Tess has got a question. If you have clients that are skeptical in the beginning, unaware of how energy transcends time and space, do you have a spiel on how remote balancing works? My spiel actually sounds just like that. I talk about how energy is not limited by time or space in my spiel. And I talk about how, you know, that it's the experience is different, because obviously they're not in the clinic with me, but the effect is the same. And that's sort of how I explain it. Yeah. And I think, again, it's like having that that intention, that expectation, that confidence, like, you know, like Lisa's saying, she's never done it any other way, so her clients don't even know to question it, you know, that process. So I've always let it be very organic. I have online or face-to-face consults, and I've just let it be organic. I've never told a client which one they should pick. And so people tend to gravitate to what works for them. But obviously now we've got this whole COVID thing and this, you know, these new restrictions or whatever they're not really restrictions, but we're just being called to work differently. And I think the whole world is becoming aware of the fact we need to work online. So I just think go with the fact that we're now moving into this way of working, and that, hey, you know, I can work with you in this way, and finding out the way that feels good for you. Like, do you see yourself doing the way I do and talking to them online face to face, or do you see them working the way Joe does over the phone, or do you see yourself doing it, you know, completely at a different time and then emailing them a report later? Like, which one feels right for you, you know, and then working out from there. Does that help, Tess?
I had a question earlier up, if you could
which one's
like
that?
what are the different ways of self-testing? Because I'm crap at it. I'm too in my head, so I've really got to practice about staying neutral, so I know that about myself. Maureen taught me this one where you put your finger over your thumb and then you do this, so lock and unlock. That's the only way I was told. Interesting, this one, but it makes me wonder, like, if you're doing this, are you verbally challenging lung, pericardium, heart? Like, are you verbally challenging that, or do you touch it and then do it? Like, how slow is that?
I personally I use my eyes and format with my eyes. So I look at their alarm points and I test. That works. Does anyone else have any ideas there?
Yeah, I look at it too, the same, what you said.
Mm.
Same, you put priority in, obviously, so you're just going straight to the priority.
Yeah, always priority. I find this way of testing really good, Megan, because it's just like, ding, 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 ding. It's just the usual. It's just how we've been taught, like how we would work with the client's arm. I just do it with me. Like when Jo was explaining how she does it, that makes me anxious. I'm like, oh, I could never work that way. It's so funny.
It's interesting, like you say, Carrie, it is what you get used to.
Yeah.
And I suppose you just need to practice long enough. Like, remember when you were first learning to muscle test, how foreign that felt? And, you know, you've got lots of different options presented here to try and see what feels good for you and take the pressure off yourself with that. Just play with it. Try and, it's like when you have different clients, you might have a very strong man that has a very slight difference, you know, but you've got to feel that difference, don't you? And everybody's different. So you get to try that all the time with different people. So once you've played around with something that works for you this way, eventually trust that you'll get to a point where you can confidently know what that is. And then even beyond that is where you don't even, you're not relying on that muscle test. You already intuitively know, and you're just using that as perhaps something to follow up on that, you know, just to check on that.
Like structure, yeah.
And that, like what Lisa's saying, I mean, working with animals, same sort of thing, and with children, because babies, young children that can't really express themselves, you rely on.
Does that help, Megan?
Yeah, a little bit. It's all so foreign to me. I'll admit.
That's okay. Do you ever balance yourself? Do you ever test yourself?
No, I do like intuitive like stuff. Like this is the thing. I'm so invested in the outcomes. So I might like I hold ESR and I've got a couple of books and I'll just look at that and muscle test like using this, but I don't trust it because I just feel like I'm so invested in the outcome. Oh, what if it's this or what if it's that? I think I'd be better with someone else than myself because it's not me. And I was trained in that you've got to really trust the muscle test. So this intuitive work, while I believe I have a little bit, I really always rely on the muscle. So
and you still can, you know, you still can rely on the muscle when you're working, when you're surrogating. You can still work that way. You'll just find over time, you might find the intuition kicks in more, but you don't have. I truly believe you can treat your own muscle like a client's, and you can work that way. If that's how you work, you've just got to find a muscle on your body that is right for you. So if, you know, maybe you could try sitting with your elbow up on a surface, like as if your arm was a client's arm, and, you know, work out how you would, you know, I don't know if you could maybe just work with that and just practice with that. It could be a start. Has anyone got any other ideas? What's that?
I think Megan, if you think of the muscle test, it's really only energy talking to you, and that's what intuition is as well. So that's why Carrie's saying that it pretty much, you know, you start to just intuitively know because it's just talking to you quicker than it actually is through a muscle test. It's exactly the same energy. I don't know if that helps. It just sounds like you're really stuck in the physical of the muscle test, and it's really only energy to begin with, really, is what that muscle's telling you. So that might help you sort of feel a bit looser on it, maybe.
Maybe get a balance around it too, Megan.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I actually find that my ears pop and I get other kinds of sensations in my body as well. So that actually I find that I trust that more than anything, because I can feel the energy moving. Do you ever feel the energy moving? Are you connected to that in different ways?
A little bit. Like I also yawn a little bit, and I also my tummy grumbles.
Yeah.
And so they're things that I think, oh, you know, that's going well. But I sort of trust a little bit what comes in, but I always like say to the client, like, I'm getting a sense about da-di-da, and if they go, oh yeah, or no, like, I'll just, more and more I'm getting more interested in that. But maybe I should get a balance around the distance stuff.
Definitely.
I'm going to have to do something. So
definitely. Yeah. Okay, we've got some questions here. Okay, I've got quite a few. Tess has to go. Awesome. Okay, see you, Tess. Okay, David says, I use similar to Joe in the supermarket to test different bread types on my partner. That's good. Okay. Helen, Carrie, when you say you use aromatherapy a lot, how do you actually use it? I use it to diffuse stress wherever that may be. It could be in a chakra, it could be the limbic brain or a brain area. That's where I bring the smell in.
So sorry, do you smell it yourself? Or
oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So especially if it's a limbic thing, I'll give it a good whiff. But I'll just wherever it needs to go. Yep. Helen, I use scan mode to scan essential oils that can be scattered around the room. Yep. Perfect. Joe, are you also doing powers of stress on yourself? Do you want to answer that, Joe? She doesn't hear me. Joe, are you there? Okay. Yes, ask whether to smell, taste, whatever, sometimes place on the body if sensitive. Yep. Okay. Perfect.
Kerry here.
Kerry? Hi, Kerry.
Hi, everyone. Just going back to Megan when she was talking there, in my very early days of kinesiology, I was really caught up in making sure that I did protocols exactly as they were written. And so I would come home from a course and I would go into my room and I would pretend that I had a client on the bed. There was no client on the bed, but I would pretend. And I would start muscle testing around it to go more so to go the protocol. But by doing that and pretending, so I would put on, you know, a person with 10 issue, and then I would work through the balance. And that in its turn led me to doing distance balancing, because I was able, I wasn't vested in the outcome. There was no client there. I couldn't be right or wrong. So I really learnt then to trust my muscle testing. And perhaps, Megan, that might be an idea for Megan, just to, even if she says to a friend, you know, do you mind if I pretend you're on the table? Have you got an issue? And then just work through it that way and go through with her own muscle testing so that there's no stress on her. There's no, you know, nobody's paying for it. It's just learning.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
I became really comfortable with distance balancing by pretending in the beginning.
Absolutely. Fake it till you make it, right? That's what they say.
Totally.
Thanks, Kerry.
That's awesome. Thanks, Kerry. Okay. Okay, does anyone have a question? What do you do to prepare yourself for an online session? Do you ask your clients to prepare anything? I personally have a questionnaire that gets sent out when they book. I have an online booking system and it's an automatic email with an automatic online questionnaire, and then it gets emailed back to me so I know before they arrive what they're coming in for. Does anyone else have any processes like that in place?
Yeah, there's that I have a client confidentiality an information form, same as the one that I put up and shared, I think, a while ago, whether anybody got that yet. It's pretty comprehensive and it's great. I just ask people to print it out, fill it in as best they can and email it back prior to the session. And it's the same as what we do in the clinic, really. It gives us that ground sort of coverage of what's going on. That's for the initial client, and then follow-ups, it's just in the discussion prior to when you start working on, like we usually do in the clinic.
So what are the things you guys do to cut the surrogacy connection? I was taught a technique. I don't know if I even do it right, but I do it. Just with a couple of fingers on my chin. And I say, I release all surrogations. And I just do that a few times. And I can sometimes feel my ears popping, which means obviously something's shifting. I also love my Palo Santo oil or something, you know, along those lines. And I just do a little thing all around my body. I wash my hands and I do some sound clearing as well around the table or the space. That's what I do. Everyone's got a different way of working, but sometimes I forget. But again, like I think that it is also like when you start to work in this way and you get really comfortable with it, it flows. And so if, you know, you have your systems in place, but if for some reason, you know, you get slack on something one day, it's okay. Like it's not like, oh my goodness, now I'm walking around with all the energy of my client. It tends, for me, it tends to just dissipate regardless.
I find it's a good idea, like you say, is to try and get into that habit. And I always ask, is there any more, you know, and permission to close, so that I know we don't teach that when you're learning, or try not to, but I like to do that because that gives me a finish to the session.
Closure.
And then and then I check, I say their name 100% in their own energy, and my 100% my energy, and then I do a bit of brain switching, you know, and it's that kind of thing. But I agree with you, Carrie, it's like the muscle when you're testing, you know, like you've got a window to work within, and as long as you're, like, when that goes outside of that, it dissipates.
Exactly.
It just falls away, doesn't it?
Yeah, I find for me having space in between clients more important than the little techniques like that. As long as I've got space in between clients, that's my thing that I need, and that I'm sorted. Then I can be clear and grounded and all those things as I need to be. But if I've got people back to back, forget it. I'm just hopeless. I can't function. So that's just me. Has anyone else got any techniques they use for surrogacy, clearing surrogacy, that they know of?
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a man.
Hi, Carrie. How are you?
Hello, David.
Yeah, it's
how
just
are
me.
you?
I'm in.
Is this David speaking?
Yeah, it is.
Welcome. Please share.
When I was studying with Create Your Reality up in Brisbane, Guy gave me a number of statements, but we were doing surrogacies. So you have on a client via someone who is willing to be a surrogate.
Yeah.
So it's not like you're doing it on yourself.
Yeah.
So we had 4 opening statements. I am willing to surrogate for. So this is the statement that the surrogate person would be saying, and then they would say that. So let's say I'm willing to surrogate for Carrie. Carrie is 100% willing to be surrogated for by me. The surrogacy is safe for all parties. I now surrogate for whoever. You proceed with the balance, and you have closing statements, which is, you know, X is now themself or itself. I am now myself.
Yeah.
And there are no negative effects from surrogacy.
Perfect. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's pretty much covered it.
I think so. Absolutely. And even just like for the highest good of all involved or something like that, as long as you say something like that, it kind of covers everything, doesn't it? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, that's great. I don't know if I mentioned, I also surrogate for people with flower essences often. Like I sell flower essences, so people can email me their problems, and I may not have met them before, and they may not even be a client. And I get permission to surrogate, and I spend 10 minutes surrogating their energy and creating a flower essence blend for them. And I can, sort of make 3 or 4 of them in an hour, and then I post them all off to their respective places. And so that I have a little process, a little bit more, because I'm back going through one after the other. It's a bit different to a session. And I find it can be actually quite draining and quite exhausting. So I have to be a lot more clear with those sorts of processes, like David said. So I actually have I'm now creating an essence for this person, and I clear the table, and I have it all very sort of structured, and I have a little kind of mantra that I use, and then I clear it at the end, and then I put everything away before I start the next essence. So yeah, it's interesting. Does anyone else have any questions? Wow, we're all questioned out.
Well, with setup, are you pause locking what the client tells you is going on? Because a lot of setup is discussion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's what I am doing. Yeah.
Okay.
But,
and you put the surrogate mode on before you get to that point?
Yes, I put the surrogate mode on as I'm talking to them. So I sort of feel into when the right time is. Yeah, there isn't really, I don't have a strict kind of structure there. But it's just when it feels right, I'll just put surrogate on and I'll start stacking things in. But I've often written a lot down by then. So then I'll start scanning through what I've written down to find the point where we need to work from, especially if they've downloaded a lot of stuff and it's all just everywhere and there's all this stuff going on. So I might just say to them, okay, I'm just going to start stacking in now. So just take a few deep breaths and blah blah blah, just to help them stop talking. And then I will then tune in and pause lock and set up there. It's like I sometimes do that if there's a lot of information coming from them. It's quite organic in that way for me. I don't really have. Does anyone else want to share?
I see from Helena, she suggested the record mode. So is that the one on the shoulder you're talking about? You hold that as they're talking?
Yeah, I think it's the right shoulder. I've heard. That's what Maureen taught me.
Okay, that's an idea.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I haven't used that in ages. You reminded me of that one.
That was one of the, Yoon Helena suggested that. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that. I normally have a lot of books around me as well. I find that finding a message for them early in the session is really nice. It can help them to build that trust with me. Something that they can relate to and connect with, or finding that like, oh yeah, that's exactly what's going on for me. Oh my God, you know what it's like. And then they suddenly realize that, oh, she knows what she's doing something. Opening statements are said to be the surrogate, and each muscle tested closing statement saying. What does that mean, David? I'm not sure.
So after each statement's read, it's read by the person who is surrogating.
Mm-hmm.
I think you've frozen, so I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay.
So if it's practitioner surrogation, then so you're saying
I'm getting a bad connection here, but anyway, so each statement, you muscle test after each. Sorry, yeah, surrogation. She's gone.
Is that me? Have I gone?
Oh, no, it's just mine.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Yeah, when the statement's read, you muscle test after each one just to make ensure that there's no stress by the person who is being the surrogate.
Okay.
Okay, and so if there's any stress, then that's cleared to ensure that there's nothing untoward going on.
Yep. Yep. Has anyone else got any questions that they'd like to ask? It's getting towards 9 o'clock, so we've been on 90 minutes, including the little flurry at the beginning. Were you guys happy to wrap up, or did you any last things of discussion? Oh yeah, remote session without using phone or video. Yeah, so that was what Lisa was talking about, Helen. Lisa works only that way, so she doesn't use any phone or video. She just does the balance energetically and then emails the client. So does everybody want each other's email addresses? Is that appropriate? If we have each other's email addresses and we can, how do you want to do it? Did you want to create like a chat of some kind, or a Facebook thread, or an email group or something like that where we can?
I think if it's okay, can we keep it in a Facebook group, because I know people who couldn't come tonight who would probably find it useful.
Yep.
So if we just use the Facebook.
So the current one that we've got, NK Practitioners.
Yeah.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
That's what it's for. Yep.
Yeah.
So what I might do is share this video on that page, this webinar, and then we can continue the discussion, so to speak. And like maybe we can, if people want to practice on each other, like we should, encourage that as well. So, and if someone wants to balance Megan for helping her to get out of her head. No, gosh, I'm so relate. Like, my intuition was always there, but it took me a long time to trust it, I think, because I was always in my head. I found kinesiology so hard when I learnt it. Unbelievable. Anyway, is Stacey still there? Are you still on, Stace? She might have dropped off. Okay. Fiona, are you happy for us to to chat in the Facebook group for now?
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
Yeah, all good.
And Joe's got that's right, Joe's got an online webinar, my brain's fried now. She's got a workshop on how to practice online. So that's something, it's separate to NK, it's something she's put together herself. So, but yeah, if you're interested in finding out about that, you can contact Joe. Beautiful. All right, guys. Well, it's been really nice to connect, and I'm glad we were able to sort out our technical issues.
Well
wonderful.
done, Carrie. Thank you.
No worries.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Carrie.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thanks, Carrie.
It's lovely to see you all.
Bye-bye.
See everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Carrie. Bye. See ya.